Hello, Uganda. Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Hotseat on 933 KFM. I welcome you, our listeners, across this beautiful land, the Pearl of Africa. My name is Patrick Kamara. What is at stake right now, or what you could call the pulse of the nation, is the Coffee Bill 2024. It seems to have divided Ugandans into two groups. One group that is supporting the bill and another group that doesn't want the bill. We've also seen that division happen right in the middle of Parliament, where most of the members of Parliament from the central region and the opposition members of Parliament are divided over this bill, and the others are not. And we now know the President has called the parliamentary caucus to meet him so that he can talk to them. We're not very sure whether they'll be discussing about the coffee bill, but because the coffee bill is what is now being talked about in Parliament, it's most likely that they'll also get into that issue to discuss about it, or even make a strategy on how that can be passed. Uganda's biggest export is coffee. Is such a huge crop for Uganda because it brings in over $1 billion as foreign exchange. And since Vietnam and Brazil's coffee sector was hit by problems, so Uganda has experienced a coffee boom. Today, we see many people who have increased their livelihood, their incomes at home incomes because of engaging in coffee. In fact, some people have even left their other businesses or even professions just to go into the coffee sector. Why are people so worried about the Coffee Bill 2024? Because government says this is supposed to make things better, not bad. Whereas the people who are supporting the status quo to remain the way it is, they think Uganda Coffee Development Authority has done such a good job that you don't need to change. So my guest who's joining me online is a senior presidential advisor, Mr. Moses Byarhanga. Thank you so much for joining us, Moses. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Patrick. Our listeners out there and my other colleagues who I think will come online.
Okay, as we wait for you, because we understand traffic has been particularly bad in Kampala today, but also that could also be on the account that there's a lot of construction going on, especially roads leading to industrial area where we are. Mr. Byarhanga, if you could, on this issue of the coffee bill that seems to have divided, for example, the Parliament of Uganda, what do you make of this discussion?
Well, the issues we need to understand clearly. Government came up with an idea. There was a research which was done some years ago, 5 or 4 years ago, around 2019, thereabouts, in respect to rationalization of government agencies, where it was covered if many of those agencies, including UCDA, were to return to the normal government system. Government will save about $1 billion shillings a year, which is spent in. So there was a study which was done, and the recommendation was made to cabinet from that study. Is now what Parliament is doing is government going to Parliament to implement the results of that study.
Yes, the results of this, yes, and Parliament and many other people were pro the rationalization of government agencies. But not all agencies were to be rationalized. Not all agencies were to be taken back to their mother ministry, because there are some agencies people thought that maybe these were too strategic and so important and were running efficiently. They didn't need to go back to the mother ministry, and that's why for those who are opposed to this bill are also asserting on the issue of Coffee Bill 2024. Your take?
You see, the thing is, first of all, if you agree that we need rationalization, it was not about whether they were efficient or not efficient. The issue was, the most important thing is what is being done or carried out by that agency, and it for this to be done by the government. That's where the question should be. Not whether this is efficient or not efficient. After all, they are telling Uganda, if they can be, if those Ugandans are efficient in an agency, they can as well bring that efficiency to the ministry or any other type of organization. So, if it's a clear-cut role, we agree what role do we need to play in the coffee sector? Because there are many other players involved. For instance, if you talk about research, coffee research is done by Daro, which feeds into the coffee sector in terms of planting materials. All these new types of coffee we are now having. I think 10 types of Robusta. I think they have so far done 7, implemented 7. They came from Naro. They did the research, but nobody talks about it. It's as if everything is done by other people. Naro has done a good job in developing wheat-resistant types of coffee, drought-resistant, all these things you hear about are development from Naro, which is also a government agency.
You know, some people have been making a case, and I'm inclined to believe what they're saying, that look, when you look at the Uganda Coffee Development Authority, there's a high degree of efficiency. It looks like it was, because they said to take about 1% of the money off what is gotten from coffee, and so it could be self-sustaining. But also, just getting over $1 billion from the coffee sales alone, Moses, that looks like a winning formula that some people are like, why are you touching this entity that seems to be everything is running okay? You only need to, enhance it and build more on what it is doing than change it. I think that's the discussion.
The billion shilling is not coming from UCD, it's coming from coffee. Those who have grown coffee, those who grow coffee are not UCDA. Those who sell coffee outside are not UCDA. Probably would say UCDA would play a role of standards, and most of the standards of the export coffee is done by UPOS. We need to understand this sector very well. This morning, because I knew we were going to start this, I contacted the Patricia Jalo, deputy ED at UPOS. I said, you at UPOS, do you ever standardize coffee? They have the standards. They African standards, they Uganda standards, so forth. So they check all those standards when they're doing the export. What they only told me that the UCD has done is giving them the coffee to be tested, because they don't have the testing machine as UPOS. So if you're talking about to maintain the standard of export, UPOS is already doing most of that work. Yes, they do it comparatively with UCD, but still, the bit which I think UCD does can still be done by the ministry. After all, the standardization body in Uganda is UPOS.
What do you make of the issue I've had from members of parliament and other people who maybe I think have more expertise on this, that UCDA had developed a certain understanding with the global coffee market, so when it comes to accreditation and certification, that it is likely to be difficult for the Ministry of Agriculture to get the same respect in terms of accreditation and certification that perhaps our coffee products could take a while before they're certified or even before the ministry is accredited.
I've just told you that certification is done by UPOS. Those people who are talking, they need to get more information. That's one. Two, UCDA is part of government. If the same government agent has giving accreditation, so what's the problem? If the officer has the same officer can do it, it's not a name. It's what you do. The certification is about the quality, and the quality is about testing. The testing is being done by UPOS, and the machines are run by people.
At the very beginning, when these entities were being created, these agencies and departments of government, I can imagine one of the reasons was to create efficiency, better service delivery, and all that. And I'm sure also that that goes the same for UCDA. At this point in time, do we find ourselves in the coffee sector and the ministry of that we have developed better capacity now to handle this sector more than when the agency was created?
Well, that's a question which has to be because the point I pointed out at the beginning that if for those Ugandans who are creating that efficiency, UCDA, if they are put in a ministry as a department, they can still do the same work. They are not people from heaven. Since they are also from here, the same people. You can employ the same people. Of course, when you take that back to the ministry, some of the things like the pay, the agencies have been earning so much money compared to their colleagues in the public sector. But yes, that will have come down. But the same people who are doing that work can be transferred and do the same work in the ministry.
Yeah, but it has taken some time to these very same people to develop the expertise, efficiency, certain, they've been...
Kamara,
yes, Moses.
Kamara. When was UCDA created?
I guess it's about...
When did Uganda start exporting coffee?
Coffee is as old as it's even older than the independent Uganda.
Before you and I were born, Uganda was exporting coffee. And it is you, Kamara, when we were not ready, you always talk about the 60s, the what, you always refer to all that. We were exporting coffee. But so, yes, if the people have done better, they have to do the same. After all, we have exported coffee to people that, yes, the UCDA, they have been doing a good job, there's no doubt about it. I'm not downplaying what they have been doing. But the point here is that same role can still be done under the ministry. Yes, the ministry would need to improve on the service delivery. That should be the stage I would be interested in. How do we make the ministry deliver better? Not that they cannot deliver at all. Because they have delivered before, as Uganda, Minister of Agriculture, was responsible for export of this coffee we are talking about, just something new. If it was a new crop we are exporting like maize, like milk, we have never exported the milk until recently. But we have been exporting coffee from 1903.
All right, Mr. Moses Byarhanga, Senior Presidential Advisor. We are going to take a break, and the hot seat will be right back. Welcome back to 933 KFM, and this is the hot seat. My name is Patrick Amara. Joining me online is Senior Presidential Advisor Mr. Moses Byarhanga, and we're discussing the coffee bill that seems to have divided Ugandans, but more especially in Parliament. We have seen members of Parliament divided over the issue. And also it seems to have also created a division that is at the regional level. Members of Parliament from the centre or the central region think that this new bill is particularly targeting farmers from Buganda region. Mr. Moses Byarhanga, well, you have articulated from your side on why this needs to be done, and also we've gone through on why these entities were created. But look at now what is happening. It appears the coffee bill is dividing people more or less on regional, I hate to say even on ethnic ground. What do you make of that?
Well, that's wrong in the first place, because coffee is grown across Uganda. I don't see any reason why it should be any region issue. If you are going to go regional, if you look at the production figures, if you took Western Uganda for what it is from Bunyoro to Kisoro, Western Uganda grows more coffee than any other place in Uganda. But I don't want to go that line. It's a crop for the whole country. It has the debate for the country and not for the region. But if you're going to go regional, it's wrong to assume that Uganda grows more coffee than any other place in Uganda. Western Uganda grows more coffee than it. But we should discuss it in the open way, where there are points, positive points we take from any side, and come out with a solution for the country, not to be divided along a ethnic or regional tribal line.
I know should not be the case, but we can't also hide our heads in the sand like the proverbial ostrich. The truth is, it has divided people down the middle, and the members of parliament in the central region think that it's the only way that is improving their incomes, and coming for it will take away the economic power that they have, and that is causing some political ramification.
But Kamal, do you believe that line? I've heard you discuss that. See, what is it that will be lost by a coffee farmer? What is it will be lost? Because you are planting your coffee. Now, what we should be talking about, if it's about like extension service, almost every sub-county in Uganda today has an extension officer, and these are under law government. So I wish the members of parliament from wherever the country will be saying, but these extension officers at sub-county level, whose budget is parliament passes, whose salaries are budgeted for, and the budget is passed by parliament, we pay them. What are they doing to help a coffee farmer? These are not UCD officers; they are sub-county officers. What are they doing to help extension in terms of...
Moses, you are a senior presidential advisor, and so understanding politics is your specialty. Have you taken trouble to understand why members of parliament, particularly from Buganda region, are vehemently opposed to this bill? Have you understood their pain?
They just need to understand. I want to understand them. They also should understand me. Because the challenge is what will be lost. That's what I want to know. Otherwise, people can be just talking out of emotions. Let's remove emotions. I want us to discuss the details. What will be lost? Then we discuss that. As I was telling you, the coffee, the research is done by NARO. If you talk about coffee quality in terms of planting materials, NARO does the research. They do the multiplication and then feed into the system. Now, the planting is done by the farmers. Of course, recently, through OWC and working with UCDA, the UCDA has been, and we are working with the OWC, they have been giving out seedlings. Maybe that's what people are realizing most, as they think it will be lost. Under PDM, the idea was, let's give the farmers money by themselves. Who want to plant coffee, they buy the seedlings themselves and go and plant coffee. So, in terms of planting materials, they can be still available through PDM, those who want to plant coffee. In terms of the research, that is continuing because the NARO is not being rationalized. Now, in terms of extension, the subcontract workers should be doing their job. After all, UCD has not been doing all the extension throughout reaching all the farmers around the country. Now, in terms of who buys coffee, in the past used to be CMB, Uganda Coffee Marketing Board. Now, the private sector are not buying the coffee. Now, if it's a question of quality, then first of all, the exporters or those who are going to process locally, if they did self-censorship, they should be able to ensure that the farmers give them the right quality of coffee. But still, as I told you, UPOS, Uganda National Bureau of Standards, has been working together with UCDA to make sure that quality of coffee going out of Uganda, or even the one being consumed in Uganda, meets the standard as set by the ESC standard and the UBOS standard, UNBS standard. So my question is, what is being lost? Well, that's what will be debated, not just taking sentiments that we are from this region, from the sub-region, blah, 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 blah. No, that is missing the point.
Well, I think for the people who have been able to thrive in the coffee sector in the last couple of years and under the stewardship of UCDA, they don't want to touch it because they feel through UCDA they are able to thrive, and they're like, do not touch something that for them seems to be working for now and working excellently. So they wonder, why would you touch it if it is working miracles for them?
Well, I don't necessarily say the miracle. The question is, if you rationalize, what would be lost? That's what I want to be debated. The debate should be directed there. What would be lost?
But then what will be gained?
The same will continue with what you are doing. What will be gained is the objective of rationalization is to reduce government expenditure on the public sector. So, and I told you that research was showing that if all these recommendations you are made for the rationalization, if were to be implemented, the government would save 1 trillion shillings. And that's a lot of money which could do other things for the government, for the private sector, and they could do roads, they could do so much.
But
that's the gain.
Again, the argument I'm hearing is that for the case of UCDA, it is actually not hemorrhaging government money, that it is able to create money on its own, and that is self-sufficient.
Please, Kamara, that money is government money. If you are going to charge the government money, it's not UCDA money. Because UCDA is the government agency. UCDA is not a private state. If it charges any money, it's government money. It's not their personal money.
Yes, if they are running a sector, a sector that is able to bring in that much, and there's just a small percentage to run it, then you cannot say it is it's not good business, even if it is government.
I haven't said it's not good business. I haven't put words in my mouth. I've said, I'm asking what is good being lost. Because whatever they are doing, it can still continue to be done.
Well, because
the role they were doing, like the recent role which was they were doing giving out seedlings. Now under PDM, the farmers are supposed to buy their own coffee seedlings. Recently, I saw there was something which was posted by the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Finance, and the Secretary of the Treasury, showing that under PDM beneficiaries, which money has gone in which sectors, and in crops, which takes a lot of money. The most planted crop under PDM is coffee. So for coffee growers, they haven't lost anything.
But let's face it. But Moses, you are a farmer yourself, and we are experiencing a boom in the coffee sector. Is this boom really sustainable? Because one of the reasons why I think there's a boom is because there has been a problem in Brazil and Vietnam. Brazil would pump a lot of coffee on the world market, and so was Vietnam. And now, because I think of climatic issues, they have not been able to send coffee. If Brazil solves their issues and Vietnam, we could go back to the same level where we have been. Are we not likely to see this kind of boom is more of a bubble?
No, there's not a bubble. The boom increases the coffee price by about, I think, $1. You can read the coffee report. I put it on our platform. If you read it very well, I can't just access it now. It increases the price a little, yes, there's no doubt about it. But still, without it, we would still have gotten a good money from export of coffee.
Because what I've been reading, Moses, is that we are where we are because Brazil is no longer pumping coffee on the global stage, and so is Vietnam. What happens tomorrow when Brazil is back?
I've told you that even when Brazil comes back, coffee should be a major export crop. The challenges which are faced by Brazil increase the price by about $1. So still, without it, if you discount it, still coffee would have earned you maybe $1 billion instead of $1.4 billion. Okay. Still, it will be a good export crop. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, because I know you've made that argument of if Brazil's problem has only increased by $1, but I'm imagining probably there could be other factors that have helped Uganda to find that the prices. Some people are saying the prices are better than we have ever seen. Is that so?
The price because of what you have just mentioned. But you see, for me, I'm more interested in discussing, because, for instance, Italy. I was reading, I think I shared it on our platform here, that Italy, in last year, 2023, earned $2.4 billion from exports of coffee, which they import, part of which they imported from Uganda, from Brazil and other countries. Uganda is one of the exporters to Italy. In fact, Italy takes most of our coffee. It reaches Italy. They sort the beans as well. Some of it they sell it as a green bean. Some of it they sell it as roasted and processed coffee. And they're earning $2.5 billion. While Uganda, we are just celebrating with $1.4 billion from all the coffee exporting. Now, for me, if the debate even with the parliament will be saying, how come Italy, which doesn't plant a single coffee tree, is earning so much? We, Uganda, how can we reach that level? I would be interested in such a debate.
All right. Mr. Moses Byarhanga, Senior Presidential Advisor, I want to thank you so much for your submission this evening. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we shall be joined in the studio by Professor Gerard Karieja from Uganda Management Institute. We'll be right back. Welcome back to 933 KFM, and this is the Hot Seat. My name is Patrick Amar, and my guest in the studio joining me is Professor Gerard Karieja. Thank you so much for joining us, Professor.
Pleasure to be here, as usual.
We still have Mr. Moses Byarhanga joining us online. I wonder, what is your take on this coffee bill? It looks like it has divided Ugandans, it has divided Parliament. You know, the intention we hear is supposed to make things efficient, but why is it that the most legislators, especially from the central region, think this bill is not for any good? And there are people also think that UCDA has done a good job. It is winning for Uganda. Don't touch it. Don't tamper with it. Just, enhance it, give it more tools, and, support it the more instead of removing it. Your take?
Yeah, my take, first of all, it is from a broader level. At one point, globally, there is what they call new public management. The idea that you have to create agencies which are more efficient, managerially independent and autonomous in their work. It was a global shift, and then privatized and so forth. Then later, people started raising questions like Alan Sheik and others that please don't do what New Zealand did, don't do what others did. Meaning that agencyfication was not necessarily a magic bullet to government work. So there has also been a global movement towards running away from agencies because they eventually became too costly, they became dumping grounds for political outfits and so forth. And they became so popular because of patronage. Now, that's, I think, the broader background to rationalization and RAPEX. Again, now, if we come to the Ugandan situation, rationalization has been understood only as reduction, cost saving. And I think that, in my view, either, if that is the preoccupation of government, it may be a wrong message that is giving the population. Because at the same time, you are creating an agency to regulate the food sector in agriculture. In the same spirit, you are creating the Uganda Mining Company, where a board has already been suggested and so on and so forth to implement the 2022 Mining Act. So, rationalization is not exactly removing and reducing and doing away with agencies. It should be about making government work more efficient. It's also not about saving. Government can reduce redundancies, can minimize duplication, can rationalize costs, can... so the message to Ugandans, if the issue is about cost saving, they're saying, but we see other spaces where this could be done. So, one, why the coffee issue became too delicate. For me, I believe the beginning point is distrust in government. Those who have been benefiting from the coffee industry, both politically and economically, think that UCDA is a better vehicle to deliver. But I think one of the problems was that when UCDA was created as a small entity, it became bigger than its mother.
The ministry.
The ministry. Technically, I do not think that what UCDA is doing cannot be done under a government department. But there is growing distrust in the level of accountability and transparency of mainstream government, which is not an agency. So to me, that is one of the major problems.
Okay.
The second major problem is the political twist that it has taken.
Meaning what?
Meaning what? The rarely... Why only UCDA? We didn't see that level of resistance to UFZA being managed with the Uganda Export Promotion Board. Because its relationship with political actors at parliamentary level is minimal. We did not see any fuss between UBTEB being combined with the Nursing Examination Board and others to make the 4 vocational boards into one examination board. It's the same government. But people have made arguments, including Professor Suruma, that when the cess was moved from 1% to 2%, it became an issue. So one of the issues is distrust in government.
The percentage that it could use to run it. 2, it
became too much money, and then there is interest in managing money. Government is trying as much as possible to manage all the money. It has centralized revenue collection. It has centralized non-tax revenue. It has reduced or minimized the spending at source and so forth. So it is into the broader appetite of government to control finances so that it can drive the economy in their view better.
Okay, I still have Mr. Moses Byaranga, Senior Presidential Advisor. The element of distrust and the element of money, I've listened to the Professor very well, seems to stand out. There's distrust, but also that government now wants to touch on this money and maybe manage it in the way they want. Your take?
That money is already collected by URA. I hope you know that. The state you're talking about. So there's nothing new. Whether UCDA stays or doesn't stay, the money is collected by URA, which is a government agency. 2, on the distrust. Yes, there is distrust. But UCD is also a government agency. Why don't you distrust it as well? So what is the difference? UCD is not a private corporation, a government agency. Like you have National Water, like you have others, you have Uganda Airlines, all those are government agencies. You have now the oil company, all those are government agencies. So if it is distrust, is the ministry distrusted against its affiliate? I don't know if
it appears the distrust. It appears the distrust is coming now when you want to take it away back the mother ministry. That's when the distrust.
Uganda police is always rated very highly compared to Ministry of Internal Affairs. That one usually happens.
And why should it be a distrust anyway? Because all these are government agencies. The senior people are, like in these agencies, appointed by the ministers with approval of cabinet. So if the same people being appointed, the ED is appointed by the minister, the board is appointed by the minister. So why is the distrust anyway?
So Moses, if you could once again speak with more clarity on what this is going to achieve for a Ugandan farmer.
Well, Ugandan farmer, the other thing I will ask you is what would be lost to the farmer. Because it will be the same to the farmer. Because the farmer, what he wants is if he could get extension service. And extension service is supposed to be given by the sub-county extension officers who are under the local government. So I would implore the LC5 chairperson, the cow, even the MPs, because they come from those constituencies, to ensure that the sub-county extension officers in their districts, in their constituencies, do what they're supposed to do by reaching out to farmers. They don't have to go physically to the farms. They can even use radios. Like now, whoever is listening to us, if we are talking about extension service, the farmer will be pitching information and knows what to do. They can give them their telephone lines. If you are stuck, call this line and find out and see what advice you can be given. So the farmer will continue doing the same. The people who buy coffee from the farmers are private sector people. They continue buying their coffee. If now it comes of grades or grading, I told you earlier, this morning, because I knew we were going to have this discussion, I contacted the Patricia Ejalo, who is the deputy ED at the UBOS. I asked her a question. Do you standardize coffee? Do you give certification? Yes, said yes, they do, because they have ESC standard, they have Ugandan standard, and all these, they have even their numbers. They know those standards have numbers. They have been doing it in conjunction with UCDA. UCDA gives them the samples, they test them in their labs, in the UNBS labs, not UCDA labs, and then they say, oh, this one meets the standard, and then you can export. So that's why I was asking you, what is being lost?
You know, Professor, if I can, there's a background to this. Remember, I think last year, but there was a mooted government proposition that there should be registration of farmers, coffee farmers, and I think a census of them, and some kind of conditionalities on how somebody can be able to farm. And also when it comes to export, I remember when there was the name of somebody, the Italian lady called Pinette, who came in, and Ugandans were up in arms. So this is not just coming today. There has been, government extending tentacles in the sector. For them, they're saying we want to make it better, but some resistance is coming from the people and those who represent them. This is not just coming now.
Yeah, it's not coming now, but the same people are saying that we appreciate the UCDA vehicle more than the main ministry. And again, for me, it is distrust. Government agencies usually, IGG's office runs integrity surveys. We have seen a number of government agencies, people express more distrust in them than their mother ministries. So that's not unusual. So it doesn't mean that if people have confidence in the Uganda People's Defense Force, they will have confidence in the Ministry of Defense. It is not automatic. So it can happen that somebody can trust the son and not trust the father. So governments must work on that distrust. And it is a political question. you are bringing all these issues, but they are saying, you think UCDA would still not trust the farmers? It would still register them. You think UCDA would still not implement the arrangements which are being done through the panetis and so on? It would still do them. So it's not about the question of farmers being registered. They would still be registered whether it is under UCDA or under, because it is an international best practice. And I do not think that there's something unique UCDA is going to do that cannot be done under a well-managed government department. Well, so government must work on that distrust and remove it, or explain better. So at technical level, I don't think that that would make a very huge difference, whether it is UCDA or any other vehicle, by the way. On the question of politics, people have turned it into a political crop. And they want to appear to be championing views. Again, you ask those who are saying that something will change, ask them, what is it that the population is benefiting from UCDA that it will not benefit when it is under the government of Uganda? Or, when there was, haven't we ever seen coffee booms in this country when there was no UCDA? But globally, if you look at the 5 most tradable commodities, one of them is coffee. Over 270 billion. So the question is really, for me, the level of articulation from government has been inadequate in terms of engaging the population and appreciating its rationalization. Because if you notice, there has been almost minimal resistance towards the whole RAPEX idea. It is a few isolated cases. Why? Because they are not been well explained. And 2, because people have particular distrust in those areas, and maybe part of the backdrop is this question of paneti and so on and so forth. Why are they not raising the same with cotton? You think cotton growers wouldn't want to have better cotton? So to me, I think that if I had an opportunity to advise government, I would say articulate your intentions better. 2, for those who are opposing, let them give us a superior argument to the question that, no, this one has performed better. After all, why was it created? What was the initial reason for creating UCDA?
Moses,
if it has achieved its objectives, why should we sustain it?
The subtle message I hear that is underground is that government wants to take away that economic power from the farmer who is benefiting from coffee. Take away my economic power, my financial power, and then you can control me. And that's why they are saying, no, you know what? They are coming for you because you have been able now to have your own economic means, and you do not care about the government. So they are coming to you so that you can be more subservient to them. That is the subtle feeling I can tell you I have had.
But do you believe it?
Moses, your job is to manage politics. You have to manage their politics. Manage their sentiments.
I'm asking you, do you believe that subtle argument you are raising?
Moses, my job is to ask you questions, not you to ask me questions.
No, I cannot ask you, because we are discussing the debate. We are just discussing. Because I agree with most of the points raised by Dr. Reya. But anybody say you are taking away the power, which power? The buying, I say, the research of coffee variety is done by NARO, government. The planting materials, the planting is done by the farmers. Now, coffee UCDA has been giving them seedlings, but now under PDM, the farmers are getting their own money to buy their own seedlings. So what is being lost? The buying of coffee from the farmers is done by the private sector. This is who is exporting the coffee. They do the processing and so forth. Maybe you say UCDA comes at the year and has been coming in at the end, working with UNBS to ensure that the coffee being exported is of good quality, as because they've ready. This is good, this grade, this grade, this grade. They have been doing that. So what is that power which is being lost? I don't see. Those are just sentiments. There's nothing we're talking about. Now, earlier you raised the question of that there was an issue registration of coffee farmers and ABCD, and people think that's where the debate has started from. But that was spearheaded by UCDA, and they are even this, as we were listening on this show, on this radio, I had an advert of UCDA talking about registration of farmers, which is a good farming practice. So they shouldn't think now government, when you say government started with trying to register farmers, anybody talking about UCDA is the one which has been doing it, and I support them on going for registration of farmers to have stability of the commodity. So let's not try to confuse issues. That we started trying to register them. Now you are taking away UCDA. The UCDA, which is supposed, even though it was success, it will be done to register them. So don't try to separate the two.
So, Professor, there's no doubt this issue, as we go to 2025, which is going to be a political campaign year, it's likely to be a campaign issue, isn't it?
Yeah, it is being turned into a campaign issue, and I think now it's less about the technical articulation of it, but more about the political. Incidentally, maybe I've not been following, I've not heard the farmers' voice on this matter, either organized or disorganized or unorganized. I believe there are coffee farmers associations, I believe there are coffee people in the coffee value chain, but I'm yet to benefit from their direct views on this matter. Maybe they submitted them to Parliament. I'll try to do my research. But as of now, I've not heard, other than representatives of coffee growing areas, then the vote which will go to the 159 versus the 70 something in Parliament, and the minority report. So other than in this political space, the other we have heard is the technical arguments from Minister of Public Service and Minister of Agriculture.
But Moses, when these agencies are created, they also, because of facilitation and good pay, they attracted the best in our country to use their expertise in these sectors. When you rationalize, of course, there are some people who may not continue with you. Their chances are that you're most likely going to meet some of the best people with the best practices, experience, and skill. What do you make of that? Because the human resource is key.
Well, generally, most of the people we talk about will be scientists, and those scientists, we have had a debate of government coming out, science better. So the group of people we're talking about are those scientists. Yes, they may not get the same they have been getting in agencies, but definitely they will get essentially a better salary than the other counterparts in the public service who are not scientists. That's the fact. And you can still attract more people. We have a lot of young scientists coming up. They'll still be there. But at the end of the day, I agree with Dr. Kareja, where he's saying we need to improve efficiency in the government system. That's the fact. We need to improve efficiency. We need timelines. We need ABCD. So, yes, if the debate was there that, okay, you want to put this department within the Ministry of Agriculture, shall we get the same results in terms of how do we ensure that there is more efficiency in the ministry? What do we need to do? Is it only in the Ministry of Agriculture or in the entire public service? You have public service, public sector specialists like Kareja who are teaching public policy at universities. They could be hired as consultants to ensure that we improve efficiency in the government system. That I agree.
But Professor, I can see, because of the coffee boom now, because of the prices and people getting good money, chances are in the next 3 years, we are likely to see maybe going to about 15 million bags of coffee. And my worry is, because even myself, I'm getting into coffee, my worry is we're going to get into this coffee 2-3 years down the road, Brazil or Vietnam is back or whatever happens, and then the prices flatten again. What is the likelihood that we may stay there?
The likelihood is to increase value, to improve the quality, and to create our niche, so that But also the coffee market is growing. Previously, Chinese never used to take coffee. They are taking it. Recently, I was in Kosovo. They are yearning for Ugandan African coffee. All the biggest consumers of coffee as of now don't produce it. And they are increasing. So, I think actually there is an opportunity.
Okay.
There is a growing market. As an agricultural product, it may have some vagaries here and there in terms, but the question now would be how best can we ensure that the coffee we put on the product, the final product that we put on the market is that which the consumer is yearning for, not us begging them to take it. So I think there is more opportunity than fear. As I told you, still among the top 10 traded products, all of them are in Uganda: copper, cobalt, gold, coffee. So we sort some preliminary issues. Then I think that we have a way to go. And I still believe that whether UCDA or no UCDA, we can have any vehicle that can take us to another level. And again, the question of the trust and confidence. But I do not think that there is anything, in my view, sinister, because the government can as well use UCDA to crush the coffee farmers.
Okay, in the interest of time, Moses, I will be asking you for your concluding remark, and I'm sure that there's going to be a coffee boom in production in Uganda, because with the PDM and with what people have seen already, that coffee is bringing in money, it can only just increase in terms of the volumes we can produce. You're parting short.
Hello?
Your concluding remark, Moses.
Hello, is that Courage or me?
You.
Hello?
That's for you, Moses, your concluding remark.
My concluding remark is that, first of all, you're clear that, as I agree with Dr. Courage, that the world demand for coffee is going up. So whether there is we need to produce more coffee for the world market, the population is increasing. Other areas, because of climate change, are having challenges with production. So we shall need more coffee, there's no doubt. So any farmers will not be worried that they will not have a market. Now, secondly, as I pointed out earlier, countries like Italy in 2023 exported coffee worth $2.5 billion. They don't plant coffee. So the things now we should be thinking about the Camaras who are entering the coffee sector. What is it that Italy is doing that we can't do? How can we copy from them so that at the end of the day, where does Italy export its coffee? Can't we add the value in Uganda and export it where Italy exports?
All right.
And earn more money, more money from the coffee.
All right.
Than selling a coffee bean, yeah.
Moses, thank you very much. Professor, very briefly, a parting shot, 5 seconds.
NDP4, among other things, talked about agro-industrialization. But there is 70% agro and 40% industrialization. If we're going to go agro-industrialization, including the coffee sector, the trust people need or are yearning for is the gains that we have got in the last 30 so many years with UCDA. Will they be sustained and enhanced, or are we going to lose them, given where NDP4 is focusing?
All right. Professor Gerald Karieja and Mr. Moses Vyarhanga, gentlemen, I want to thank you, and you, the listener, I want to even thank you more for the privilege of your company. I can see Nadwoga standing by with the news at 8. Good night, and God bless Uganda.